All right, let's talk about a classic AI problem, the kind of thing you might see on an exam. How do you actually know if the text your AI model generates is any good? Today, we're going to break down how you pick the right tool for that exact job.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Imagine you've poured your heart and soul into building this awesome AI that writes text. Fantastic, but now what? How do you grade it? And not just grade it, but grade it in a way that's automatic, totally objective, and this is the big one, actually understands if what your AI wrote means the same thing as the right answer.
So first up in our lineup of contenders is a metric called ROUGE. The best way to think about it, it's like a word detective, magnifying glass and all, looking for one specific clue: overlapping words.
And yeah, the full name is a total mouthful. Recall-oriented understudy for gisting evaluation. But its job is actually super straightforward. It just looks at the AI's text, compares it to the correct answer, and counts how many words or phrases match. It's basically a high-tech word matching game.
Okay, so here's the deal. ROUGE is actually great for certain things, like text summarization. I mean, it makes sense, right? A good summary is going to use a lot of the same keywords. But, and this is a huge but, it has absolutely no idea what the words mean. So if your AI writes, "the cat was quick," and the reference text is, "the feline was fast," ROUGE is going to score that pretty poorly, even though, they mean the exact same thing. That's a big problem.
All right, that brings us to contender number 2, BLEU. Now, BLEU comes from a totally different world and was built for a very, very specific job.
BLEU stands for Bilingual Evaluation Understudy, and that name gives you a huge clue. It was born and raised in the world of machine translation. Its entire purpose in life is to see how close a machine's translation gets to one done by a professional human, looking at stuff like precision and whether the grammar sounds right.
And right there, you can see its biggest weakness for our problem. See, BLEU is a specialist. It's amazing if you want to know if a French sentence was translated into good, fluent English. But it doesn't really care about digging deep to see if two English sentences share the same fundamental meaning. And that's exactly what we needed to do.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, wait a minute. If these automatic tools are so limited, why don't we just have people grade the text? I mean, humans are the ultimate experts on language, right?
Well, yes and no. On one hand, of course, humans are the absolute gold standard when it comes to understanding nuance and context and all that good stuff. But for the problem we're trying to solve, using humans fails on two massive fronts. First, it's subjective. What I think is a 9 out of 10, you might think is a 7. And second, it just doesn't scale. There's no way you can get people to grade millions of sentences quickly and objectively. It's just not practical.
And all of this brings us to our final contender. This is the modern approach, the one designed specifically to tackle the weaknesses we've been talking about. This is the metric that's all about understanding meaning.
So BERTScore plays a totally different game. Forget about just matching words. It uses this really powerful idea called contextual embeddings. Basically, it turns every single word into a rich mathematical code, think of it as a vector, that captures what that word means in that specific sentence. So the code for bank in Riverbank is completely different from the code for bank in Moneybank. Then, it compares these meaning vectors to see how similar the sentences really are on a deeper level.
And that right there gets to the heart of it all. Because BERTScore understands context through these embeddings, it can finally look at "the cat was quick" and "the feline was fast" and say, yep, those mean the same thing. It cracks the code. It solves that fundamental problem of understanding meaning, and it does it all automatically and objectively.
Phew, okay, that was a lot, I know. So let's wrap this all up. We're going to distill everything we just talked about into a super simple cheat sheet so the key differences are crystal clear.
This table right here, this is your key. If you're on an exam and the question is about summarization, your brain should immediately go to ROUGE and word overlap. If it's about translation quality, it's BLEU. But the moment you see words like scalable, objective, and especially meaning or semantic similarity, that's your giant flashing sign to think BERTScore.
And that is exactly why, for the question we started with, BERTScore is the hands-down winner. It's the only metric that checks all the boxes. It scales, it's objective, and its entire reason for being is to evaluate semantic meaning.
So that leaves us with one last thing to think about. We've kind of figured out how to measure if an AI's answer means the same thing as a reference. But what happens when we don't want it to just be correct? What about when we want it to be creative or funny or original? How in the world are we going to build metrics to measure that?
That's the next great frontier.